Hello, everybody, and welcome to the In From Japan podcast. I'm your host, Erroll Moss, as always, and with me we have the phenomenon from Suriname, Jason Corder.
Hey, hey.
And we have a very special guest today. We have Nate from the New Entertainment System podcast. Yay!
Yay!
Huzzah, huzzah.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, we're doing okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing as good as I probably can be right now.
Yeah, considering the world is on fire.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yep. There's still video games, so everything is at least a little bit okay.
Thank the maker.
Yeah. Somehow. So like we always do, or actually no, we're gonna change it up a little bit. So since we're a smaller podcast, Nate, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your
big
podcast?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, you're
slightly bigger, I'm sure, but I'm Nathan Brandt. I host a show called the New Entertainment System podcast, or at Twitter at the NESPod, but we're not a Nintendo podcast. We are a sort of an improvised comedy podcast where we have a robot that I made in Google Sheets, and it randomizes subjects, styles, and twists to give new prompts for video games. So like a Marvel open world dating sim, or like a Halo cooking game, or like a Metal Gear game in ancient Egypt, or whatever it's going to be. We make a prompt for that, and then we, quote unquote, design it. And whether it ends up being like a funny thing, like the Halo cooking game or whatever, we make it goofy, or we've had stuff like, oh, what would an open world Guitar Hero game be like, and then we actually earnestly think about like how that would like best be done in our opinion. So it kind of zigzags back and forth between like a serious game design podcast and a goofy, weird like comedy podcast, but I'd like to think it has a consistent tone. Episodes every Monday. They're a half hour. We have a guest from the games podcast scene, the games industry, or the games journalism scene, and it's a lot of fun. We've been doing it for like 6 months ish.
Yeah,
and we're gonna and we're gonna be, and that time flew by, and we're gonna hopefully be doing it for a lot longer and doing more shows and stuff like that. But that's for the future Nate to worry about, not current Nate. Current Nate's on this podcast about Japan.
Okay, beautiful.
I feel like I always thought your podcast was older than that. Wow. Okay.
It simultaneously feels like I've been doing it for probably half my life, but then also it feels like I'm on episode 4 of it.
I get it.
My co-host Cam and I only really met about close to exactly a year ago. And then we kind of spitballed back and forth about doing a show for a long time, sort of the same way that people that live in a town and play musical instruments say we should start a band or whatever, right? So so we kind of spitballed back and forth about what we would want to do, and we eventually landed on this, and we prototyped it out and made it. And thankfully the thing we did the first time was the way that we wanted to do it going forward, so there hasn't been a whole lot of tweaking to it as we've been going along, and thankfully people have been listening to it, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, as a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I definitely liked the last episode.
Yeah, we did a Yu-Gi-Oh game set in the Old West, and that was one of the ones where it definitely skewed more goofy, but I thought there were some cool ideas in there that a game could potentially use. But yeah, no, it definitely was really, really goofy.
What was the last name for Pegasus? Because I was like, oh, but you guys could have done this.
So So it's Maximilian Pegasus in the show, right? So we made it Maximilian Stagecoach because it was in the Old West. We couldn't. That was the best we could think of it. I was like, Maximilian Horse. I don't know.
I got one that's 3 syllables, and it's kind of redundant. But if you said Maximilian Pony Horse,
Maximilian Pony Horse is pretty good. We also renamed Exodia the Forbidden One as Ted Zodia the Forbidden Prospector, so that was pretty cool too. That was my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a couple crossovers with guests from that and this podcast, to be honest.
I'm sure. Yeah, Cam loves games from Japan. He's way deep into Persona 5 Royal, and he is a huge fan of Nier Automata as well. So any chance you can get him on a mic talking about that, absolutely.
Oh, he's gonna fit right in.
And yeah. That's a good segue to do the section of the games we've been playing recently. So I'm sure we've probably all still been playing a bit of Animal Crossing.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing about that is 2 of us here finished it and 1 of us hasn't. I'm not going to say who.
That means that none of us can talk about it. No, I think, like, you know, if we want to talk about, we can't talk about, like, you know, the future of the franchise or the ending or any of the spoilery stuff, right? But I was taking my dog for a walk, just sort of getting in the headspace of thinking about games for this podcast, and I was thinking, like, man, I would love a Chrono Trigger remake in that engine where you get to, like, issue commands to Frog and stuff like that, and do your, like, team up combo moves. Man, that battle system is so good in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
See, I have some problems with the battle system.
Okay, go ahead.
Honestly, my biggest problem is I feel like it could have been it literally just needs to be tweaked like a tiny bit, and like, because I still like it. I just feel like I was switching between difficulties a lot, because of the amount of health that enemies have, and like, so with easy, it was always like I felt like the limits and the, what are they called? Like the abilities and the limits were kind of
ATB
a
abilities,
little too powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, as soon as you got to them, the enemies would just be done. And then, but in normal mode, I felt like the enemies had, like, a little too much health, especially later on. They, like, took a long time. And I don't know if it was, like, something about me not doing something right, or because I was still, like, upgrading weapons and using the materia and everything. So I don't know. I still liked it. It's just, like, I feel like it didn't click with me as much as I wanted it to.
Right.
Also, I did want the aerial recovery from Kingdom Hearts when you get knocked in the air, but you can recover from it, because that was a really annoying thing for me.
Yeah. What I liked about it, I mean, I played it on normal mode, the whole way through, and I died only twice to a certain goofy boss in the Coliseum. I don't know how far you are into the game, but
I've seen that. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah. So I only died twice to Hell House, and then the rest of it was pretty fine. I think I probably could have gone to hard for a couple fights, but I don't think I would have been able to do it for the whole thing. But yeah, no, I've been seeing people online saying that they've had trouble with, you know, the normal mode of, you know, I keep dying, or my health keeps, you know, getting depleted too fast, or enemies are too hard and stuff like that. And my first instinct is to be, because I don't think I'm good at video games at all, right?
Yeah.
So my first instinct is like, oh no, guys, you're probably not playing it right, or probably not playing it the way that it's supposed to be. But maybe this is the one game that I actually am decently okay at.
Well,
that could definitely be true.
Last week we also spoke about this, and my argument was maybe the game isn't communicating its mechanics well enough to the audience. Maybe the way you're interpreting the world or the battlefield and your abilities doesn't really sync up to what you have in mind with how the battle should be going. So whenever you want to go, like, let's say right, the game decides to go left, and then you're at odds, and you then have to recover from a scenario you did not plan for. And compare that or compound that with the typical Final Fantasy thing of bosses being very spongy, and then you have a recipe of disaster for a lot of people.
Yes, completely. Yeah, and I don't know if it was just that it just clicked with me, but I do agree though that they could have put in a little bit of a either a tutorial or a pop-up or something about switching between characters, because not a lot of people like know that when you're controlling a character, their ATB builds faster. So it is a good idea to build your ATB, use an ability, and immediately switch out to somebody else so you can keep that sort of, circular loop going. And that was sort of something that I immediately started to do. Like I played I would say like 80% of the time when I had the choice, I played as either Aerith or Barrett, and kind of hung back and did support stuff. And when you're Barrett, you can do like some crazy moves later on, especially. And when Aerith gets this like wild move towards the end too, that's an offense move. But yeah, no, I kind of just hung back and let either Tifa and or Cloud like handle a bunch of stuff, and then let them do abilities, and I would switch back and do all that. So yeah, no, I think a lot of people have been playing it as kind of like a Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah.
Like so many people I see are like, and I'm not saying that this is what you're doing, but like they're playing like almost like a Cloud only scenario.
Exactly.
And that's crazy. You cannot do that.
That's very brave.
Yeah. No, especially in certain fights where like you have to when like some of the robots are more far off, and you kind of have to use Barrett, but Barrett just makes it way easier since he has range.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mostly did play it as Cloud and Tifa.
Yeah.
And I switched between them because I didn't like playing as the ranged characters that much unless I felt like I needed to.
Yeah, you definitely need to have like the right materia and moves and weapons equipped for that to be like a fulfilling gameplay thing. And again, I think the reason that it clicked with me so well is that for whatever reason, I was like, oh, I'm going to play like this. And it turns out that that's the way that the game wanted to be played.
Well, for me, I do a healthy mix of every party member. So I rotate between doing straight up sword damage and then switching to Barrett or Aerith to do range damage, and then Tifa for stagger damage. And I think why it clicks so well for me is due to my experience with Final Fantasy 13. So in Final Fantasy 13, you can assign 3 roles to each characters, and that forms a paradigm. And depending on your situation, you then shift the paradigm to accommodate for that. So let's say in a battle you have Cloud, or you start as Cloud, and then you see an enemy far off, like the robots, and that is for me assigned to switch to a ranged class. So that automatically means, okay, who do I have in my party? Barrett, Aerith, done deal. Do I need to stagger the enemy so that I can eventually do way more damage? Then Tifa is my girl. So I think me having that experience made this so much easier.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talk about Final Fantasy 13 and just saying like this is sort of a logical conclusion to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, as a fan of the series, I thought it was a fan of the series as if, Final Fantasy VII is a series, but as a fan of Final Fantasy, I guess there's 3 games in like a movie, right? So yeah. There's as many games for that as there is for Final Fantasy 13, I guess. So so actually more now, right? So
I mean,
but yeah, no, as
I've wanted to rewatch Advent Children so bad. Well, I have it. I just haven't put it in my PS4 to watch it again.
Yeah, I need to watch it again, especially after being done with it. Like I bought Final Fantasy VII on my Switch. Who knows when I'm going to actually play that? But I was just like, you know what, Square, I'm going to give you a little bit more money and just show you that Final Fantasy VII is very good and I like it a lot.
I also bought Final Fantasy 13 recently because everybody's like, yeah, it really did a lot to pave the way for the remake of Final Fantasy 7. I'm like, okay, I'll try it out.
Yeah, I can actually get that on my new Xbox One now. Like, I can download that game because it's backwards compatible, which is a wild thing.
See, that... sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but... Okay, we're back. Okay, had a little stag there. we had a little snag there, but
Just like
so
live
what I was
on
saying
your
was,
radio.
Yeah.
yeah, what I was saying was, the one reason I've wanted either an Xbox One or a remake of this game I'm going to talk about is because I haven't played it and it's right up my alley. Is Blue Dragon.
Yeah. I am a huge Akira Toriyama fan, right?
Yes.
So when I was younger, when that game first came out and I had a 360, I was jacked to play it. I was so excited to play that, and I rented it because I could never afford it, I guess. I don't remember exactly why, but I rented it a bunch and played it. I don't really have any memory of what the game was or if it was even good or not, but it's sort of kind of like Persona if you think about it, because you get your little shadow characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I someday I'll probably buy that on the Xbox shop and see if I can play it.
It had 3 games. Only one was for Xbox, and the 2 sequels were for Nintendo DS.
I knew about at least one of them for DS, because I would see it pop up here and there when I worked at GameStop for a time. But I didn't know about a second one.
Wasn't that Japan only?
No, both of them actually did release internationally, I believe. And also the boss battle theme for at least the US version of Blue Dragon, I believe, was sung by the lead singer of Deep Purple.
That's wild.
Kind of dope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the weirdest thing. The theme song for Final Fantasy 13 is sung by Leona Lewis, no less.
And it's yeah, okay. That makes sense. But yeah, so I'm kind of become a big Dragon Quest fan after playing 11. And so I was looking up Blue Dragon, and I was like, why didn't this game do that well? It has all these and I was looking at reviews, and at the time people just didn't want a more traditional JRPG, especially on Xbox.
Yeah.
So I'm I wonder if they remade it or re-released it, if people would
appreciate it.
Be more open to it, especially in a post Dragon Quest XI S world.
We're sort of in a realm right now where people don't have weird preconceived notions about what a traditional JRPG would play right?
Yeah.
I feel back in the day there was the prevailing wisdom was, I don't want to play that old stuff where they take turns fighting, but now it's Dragon Quest XI S did super duper well and people love it, and Persona 5 and now Persona 5 Royal. So yeah.
Because I've been playing through Dragon Quest VIII for the first time now, finally.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing the ways that it kind of paved the way for Dragon Quest XI, and I'm just why didn't I play this years ago? What is wrong with me? Because after playing Dragon Quest XI on PS4, I was whoa.
Yeah.
This was always my thing, and I just because I started with Dragon Quest Monsters when I was little, and when I found out in the regular series you don't capture the monsters, I'm well, this is lame, and then I never picked it up again until later. And then I actually tried Dragon Quest X earlier today, because you can easily get it on Switch, although it's in Japanese, so it's kind of hard to do anything.
Oh, right, yeah.
But there are guides on it, so I was I'll try a little bit. I made a character, and I walked a few steps, and I said, okay, that's good.
I've seen it. It's fine.
I'll play it later, because there's a guide that I'll probably follow. But yeah, I've been playing Dragon Quest VIII, and I'm if I could write an article just on how Dragon Quest VIII paved the way for Dragon Quest XI, I'm that's a little outdated, a couple years late, but
yeah.
I keep seeing the Final Fantasy ones, and I'm just I should have started playing this series way earlier. I think, unless you guys want to talk about anything else real quick, I think we're gonna move on to the next section.
No, go ahead.
Unless, as long as you guys are.
I'm just looking at the Blue Dragon thing on the Xbox store right now, and I'm I'm thinking about it, man. I
It's
think I might.
tempting
I
you.
think I might.
Tempting you.
You stream every once in a while.
Every once in a while, yeah. I don't know if I'd be able to stream a story game and be able to. Oh well, especially something where I would have to like read voices and stuff. This might be a just for me game.
I think it has voice acting.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
I'm pretty sure it has voice acting. And if you stream anything, just stream a boss battle, even though it might get copyright.
Right, just to get that weird music. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we're moving on to the In From Japan J list, where we talk about recent video game related movie and TV news. So I kind of went off the rails on this, adding a bunch of anime and tokusatsu news just to help everybody through these hard times. But now we actually have actual relevant news to it. So, this first story comes from Siliconera, and it was kind of coming. It's not loading. It's taking a little while. So new episodes of Pokemon. Yeah, so new episodes of Pokemon, Digimon Adventure Reboot, and One Piece anime delayed due to COVID-19. I think there's like 1 or 2 more episodes in the pipeline, and then they're gonna stop because they already had stuff ready. But yeah, so I believe One Piece and Digimon Adventure are both animated by Toei, and I know I think they shut down for the time being. Pokemon, I think, is still animated by OLM.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, just to summarize, basically they said it's been delayed due to the ongoing pandemic. We don't know when it's coming back, but it's the good news is, and I forgot to put this, but because the One Piece thing I don't feel is as relevant because it's not based on a game, but even though we are getting more One Piece games now.
Yeah.
But it was the Pokemon and Digimon thing, because there are some so about One Piece, the first 2 arcs will be on US Netflix, I believe, next month. I think it's just going to be subbed. If it's a dub, it's probably going to be the Funimation. I hope it's going to be the Funimation one, not the 4Kids one.
You don't want
That's
the
what's on
pirate
Hulu, I think.
The pirate.
I think it,
well,
I think it's on Hulu. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't hate the pirate rap. I just don't like the voice acting compared to the main cast that that Funimation did. It was pretty good, at least in my opinion. But related to. First, we have another news story related to Digimon, where Digimon Last Evolution Blu-ray will be out in the U.S. from Shout Factory on July 7th. And this will have a sub and a dub. So I was supposed to see this movie in theaters, but obviously it was canceled for pandemic reasons. And at the time, it wasn't known if there would be a dub or not. And now we have a confirmation that it will be subbed and dubbed, and that Joshua Seth will be returning as Tai Yagami. So that's cool.
It's pretty cool.
And then we have, I think this is news from today. This is from Anime News Network. Pokemon Journeys, the series, will actually premiere on Netflix. So the currently airing Pokemon series in Japan is finally getting a dub. It previously... Man, Pokemon's been kind of all over the place, because when I was little, it was on Kids WB, and then Cartoon Network, and then most recently Disney XD, and then people were really concerned about the dub for this, because Disney XD never announced anything for it, and it's going straight to Netflix. So it'll have the first 12 episodes, and will add new episodes quarterly. And there's a trailer for it. And I'm kind of excited to watch that, because... despite whatever your opinions on like dub voice acting and the fact that it's not like the original people, I just like that they do different regions in this. I'm gonna get into spoiler territories for this anime if you guys don't mind.
Sure, no, it's fine.
It's Pokemon, it's fine.
So Ash now has he has his Pikachu. That Mr. Mime that he caught, that usually helps his mom, went to go help him, and he's used it in battle now. So he has Mr. Mime. He caught a Gengar.
Whoa.
And a Dragonite, and most recently he hatched a Riolu.
Ooh.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of like the writers are giving him Pokemon that people thought he should have like in episodes way back.
Oh, yeah, I see.
there's the Haunter he gave to Sabrina, the Dragonair episode that was banned in the U.S. because there was a gun in it, or something.
So
Riolu, because there was always that aura stuff with Lucario.
So it's kind of the greatest hits of Pokemon making its way to a new show.
I just want him to go back. He needs to go back. He needs to go get his Pidgeot from the flock it's leading, and he needs to go back and get his Primeape from that one gym, and then I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, did
he said he'd come back for both of them.
Yeah.
Let's just say they forgot about him.
Yeah. They're doing other stuff now.
It doesn't seem like they forgot about it now. Maybe he'll just catch us another Pidgeot. That would be so messed up.
He probably wouldn't even know the difference at this point. It's been years.
Or, you wouldn't be surprised if you said, hey, you look familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get his and also get his Quilava to evolve into a Typhlosion, because it did take like several generations for that to happen once, and it's been enough generations for it to happen again. Next up is our recommended reading, watching, and listening list. My internet is kind of messing up right now. Hold on. It is not.
Should I just go ahead and read it out loud?
It says it's connected. I can still hear you guys, so I don't know what the heck. Maybe it's Google Docs.
Should I?
Yeah, you know the rundown.
Yeah.
You can just list off the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind.
So.
Right as I reconnect.
So I'm taking on the baton from Erroll. And this section is the recommended reading, watching, and listening.
Hold on, I reconnected.
So it's content that... Yeah? Okay. So it's content that we have.
So do you still want to...
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, I think he might be like behind at this point, because I'm like getting like stuff from what they said earlier.
Okay. So.
Coming through, so it might be
Whoops.
He's time
traveling.
Yeah, uh-oh.
Okay.
This is what happens when you have an international podcast.
No,
it's fine. It's fine. We'll make it work.
Oh, you got me now? Okay, you got me now. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll switch back. I don't want you to have to double up on this and then the bad news and then your voice gets all tired and then
I'll be fine. What do you want to do?
Well, now I'm stuck.
Okay.
We'll just switch back to the usual. I didn't know I'd reconnect right when you started. I'm sorry about that.
It's fine. It's fine.
That was really weird.
Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Yeah? Okay.
Okay, so we have why Final Fantasy VII Remake's final boss doesn't really work. Major spoiler whoa. Major spoiler warning by Tony Cocking over at Twinfinite. Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge are the real heart of Final Fantasy VII Remake by Sterling Silver over at Twinfinite. Twinfinite. Hey, we know that guy.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is haunted by what came before by Heather Alexandra over at Kotaku. Feature Trials of Mana producers on the challenges of remaking a classic 16-bit RPG by Gavin Lane, Nintendo Life. The Trials of Mana remake proves Square Enix can faithfully redo a classic 90s RPG by Mike Fahey over at Kotaku. The Trials of Mana remake feels like well, that was a weird title. It's learned from the Secret of Mana remake by Jenny Latta over at Siliconera. How President shares his thoughts on the company's history and future by Robert Sefazon, Nintendo over at Nintendo Life. It is Hal's 40th anniversary this year, I believe.
Wow.
The Uncertain, Unflinching Future of Games Media. It's an interview with Jason Schreier by Rebecca Valentine over at GameIndustry.biz. Really insightful interview, I think.
Yeah.
Reb is one of the best people in the industry for in-depth stuff like this, and as well as business reporting as well. Reb and I are good friends.
She does a great series on environmental impact, with the game industry, and that's always a cool read.
Yeah.
And then to continue the list, we have 30 Years of Fire Emblem is 30 Years of Nintendo Thinking You Don't Like It by Graham Russell over at Silicon Era. Phantasy Star 3's Marriages Set It Apart by Jenny Latta over at Silicon Era. I believe this year marks the 30th anniversary of Phantasy Star 3 as well. And Why Video Game Rivalries Can Be Beautiful by Eric Van Allen over at US Gamer. And that is our recommended reading, watching, and listening list for this week. Oh, except for the New Entertainment System podcast, obviously.
Yeah,
but that was kind of
list.
Yeah, that was kind of obvious,
right? Yeah, I got my plug out of the way, so no worries.
Now now we'll hand it over to Jason, our bearer of bad news, for our bad news section that we like to get over with.
I think we should just add a spooky sound effect whenever I transition into this.
I'm on it.
Lightning strikes, and like organs, and yeah.
Ooh.
I want to get I want to get the like a fake spooky, like have you ever seen Harvey Birdman?
Yeah.
With like Men Talk the Mind Taker with the
Yeah.
That could make a nice clip. Okay. New checkout bot targeting online Switch stock is driving the scalpers market in North America. It's an article by Liam Doolin for Nintendo Life. So there's this new open source tool on the block, and it's said to be at least partly responsible for the current Nintendo Switch shortages in North America at the moment. What it does is automatically notify users when a Switch becomes available online at specific retailers in the US, such as Best Buy and Walmart, and then completes the checkout process. While tools like it aren't necessarily new, this one was designed to target Nintendo Switch stock online and is a completely free download, meaning anyone can source the consoles. As Nintendo struggles to restock units within the US, there are groups online that are apparently exploiting the current demand for the systems with this tool, and then selling them for upwards of $500. The Animal Crossing themed bundle in recent times has reportedly sold for more than $750. So this has been kind of hot news this week, since Switch stock is still kind of low, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's expected that people were going to do this, but it just sucks to see it happen. Especially in these trying times when everyone is trying to get their kicks, their enjoyment, while being cooped up inside. This just sucks.
Yeah, and as a amiibo collector, I have a full set of North American amiibo. I am used to dealing with people with like purchase bots and scalpers and stuff in stores. So it sucks that it has gone from, a $15 amiibo that if it gets marked up, 100%, that's only like $30 that I have to pay. So whatever, if I have to pay a scalper, but a Switch, that markup is going to be a lot less doable for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is especially going to suck for families who want to buy one for their kids, because even now when you have other expenses, and you want to have something for your kids to quiet them for the time being, and not being able to, it's man.
Especially when games like Animal Crossing, you can only have one island per game, right? Exactly. You can't have like multiples, so that the siblings can all share, or that mom can play with the kids, or dad can play with the kids, or whatever. So yeah.
Oof. Okay. Moving on.
The bad news section.
The rest of the bad news. PS4 players reporting boot loop issue following firmware update 7.50. This is by...
See, I didn't see this covered that much. like this I think was the only article I saw about this.
It's probably them
Think.
thinking.
This was a few days ago.
You know what? The PS4 is on its way out. No one really cares.
After Final
Maybe it fixed itself.
After Final Fantasy VII remake, I don't think that there's going to be a. And now that I have this Xbox, I don't know that I'm going to be playing my PS4 too much unless I'm going to go back to Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Oh, a good choice.
Yeah. So this
we'll talk about that later.
So this is an article by Zarmina Khan for PlayStation Lifestyle. Sony rolled out PlayStation 4 firmware update 7.50 to all users a day ago, with little in the way of patch notes other than improving system performance. However, quite a number of users have taken to sites like Reddit to report that their consoles are being thrown into an infinite boot loop since the update. Oh, this is giving me Vietnam flashbacks. It forced mine into a save mode loop where initially it requests the update file via USB. Blue light on start changes to white. Explain user portions for many. Well, that's a choice. Anyway, if cancel is selected, it powers down. I can boot to safe mode, but after going through options 1, 2, 3 via internet, 4, 5, nothing changes. It just goes back to the USB request menu. The rest of the article details the specific error codes you're getting and what else is said. A Sony representative had the following response. To get this resolved, you can visit our website at support.playstation.com. Also, please be aware that the PlayStation repair facility is currently closed for US consumers. While we sympathize with our consumers, there is no estimate on when the repair facility will reopen. So yeah, this really sucks if the PlayStation is your only source of entertainment.
Yeah.
God forbid you have a launch model.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh boy, I've been there plenty of times.
Yeah, you've had some.
I've had boot loops.
Funky experiences.
I've had the console just dying on me randomly. I've had it dying on me permanently. I've had power outages causing the hard drive to crash. I've basically run into every error code imaginable. And
but not this one.
Thank God. Okay. Next up is Nintendo Switch Joy-Con colors and production. This is by, I don't see a name.
Oh, did you switch up the? Are you switching the order?
Did I switch? Oh.
Yeah. There are two other ones.
Oh, okay.
That.
Sorry, my bad. I'll just.
Sorry.
I'll finish this one.
I was
no,
like,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think this is by Bree for Japanese Nintendo.
Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know how good of a source Japanese Nintendo is,
okay.
But I didn't see this being
so listeners, grain of salt. Production has ended on several Nintendo Switch Joy-Con colors, with the Nintendo Switch Gray, Neon Yellow, and Red Joy-Con controller sets L plus R, all no longer being manufactured according to wording on the Nintendo Accessories page. All three colors are selectable on the Nintendo Switch Customized section of the online My Nintendo store, however, and are also available to purchase individually. So it's not clear whether only the Joy-Con sets have ended production or whether this will transfer over to individual Joy-Con and Switch bundles once stock has dried up. So I'm guessing this is bad news, kind of, but
it could be. Yeah, it could either be that or that that anybody that wants a gray or red and blue one they've already got them, right?
Yeah. but no word on whether or not this affects the Western regions. So I think we're fine for now. Also, with Joy-Con drift, it's not going to be an issue on which Joy-Con you have, just that you have a working Joy-Con. So, we'll see how this packs out. Okay, back to the order of things. The San Diego Comic-Con canceled for the first time. Shocker.
You hate to see
by
it.
Josh Tolentino for Siliconera. So another big name gets added to the list of events falling victim to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic: San Diego Comic-Con. For the first time in its 50-year history, Comic-Con, otherwise known as SDCC, won't be happening. In an announcement on the official SDCC website and Twitter account, the organizers, Comic-Con International, noted that they initially hesitated to cancel the event, which was to take place on July 22nd to 26th of this year. They had hoped that concerns over the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic lessened by summer, but as this is increasingly unlikely, they decided to call it off. Yeah, this is a bummer.
It brings in so many people. As somebody who lives in that area, yeah, it brings in a lot of people. And, like, I haven't gone for a few years, but I just like going downtown to see people. And then I usually have some friends coming in covering it. And I'm just like, hey, if you have time, let's go, like, hang out downtown and do something, grab a drink or something. And, like, but then, like, this is the first time. It's sad, but, like, Comic-Con's so big, I'm not, like, concerned about it not coming back eventually.
Right.
Yeah. Sucks.
Just kind of was waiting for the news, and the next news story is also, I was just kind of waiting for the news of cancellation for that one too.
The thing about Comic-Con though is that some movies won't have their usual teasers coming out, so
I mean, they're released online only a few hours later.
Sometimes.
A lot of the time.
Anyway.
Well, it's, in this case too, like most of these movies wouldn't be coming out when they were,
true.
you know. So, I even wonder if, you know, even if it did happen, I don't know that, you know, because everything Marvel has been delayed indefinitely because they don't want to put anything just on Disney Plus. But we'll see how long this situation goes on for, and if they'll change their minds if we're still, you know, next January and nothing's happening, right? But we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Comic-Con has come a long way since the first time I went, where snakes on the plane was the biggest thing they had.
Man, that takes me way back.
Yeah.
Okay. Anime Expo 2020 canceled due to coronavirus concerns. Expo will return to Los Angeles Convention Center in 2021 by Sal Romano for Komatsu. The Society for the Promotion of Japanese Animation, that's a cool name, has canceled Anime Expo 2020 due to concerns regarding the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the organizer announced. It would have run from July 2nd to 5th, or July 5th, at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Anime Expo will return to the Los Angeles Convention Center in 2021 with the same show dates of July 2nd to July 5th. So yeah, there's a big old release or press release by the organizer, so you can read that at gematsu.com. And yeah, it's probably going to be the trend for 2020 that every convention is going to be either postponed or canceled indefinitely.
As somebody who usually loves covering events, this is really sucks.
Yeah.
Especially because there were supposed to be three, like, Comic-Con, TwitchCon, and Final Fantasy XIV Fan Fest were all supposed to be right where I live. So it's just like, ugh. But you know what? There's not much I can do when it's like,
right.
It's one of those things where it's like they'll come back. It'll just take a while. I don't expect. It's not like an E3 type situation where it's kind of weird and like on shaky ground anyway. It's more like people like these conventions and, like, you know, they have their criticisms, but it's not, you know, leaking a bunch of press people to you know what I mean.
it's still a much beloved thing.
The thing that sucks about not having Anime Expo though is because there are a lot of in the more recent years, the ones that I've gone, they've had more niche games coverage that you might not see at E3. Like last year,
Dragon Ball Fighter stuff.
I went to even more. I went to a panel by Level 5 for Yokai Watch and Inazuma 11. I went to a Digimon panel, and a what's it called? I met the creator of Zero Escape, and he signed my PS4 copy. It's just
Well,
like
nice.
stuff like that. It's just like stuff like that where it's like smaller announcements, but like still cool announcements for those audiences. I'm sure they'll still announce them online, but it's just I don't know. It just there's an element missing from it.
Yeah, that is indeed so. Okay, next up is Japanese arcades and game stores heavily hit by coronavirus. An article by Alistair Wong for Silicon Era. Japan is one of the last bastions of prolific arcade culture, where people go out to arcades to play arcade cabinet games, with or against each other. But this may not last much longer, especially as the COVID-19 coronavirus and subsequent orders to avoid crowded places and stay home have hit Japanese arcades and gaming stores hard. Famitsu published a series of interviews from April 3rd to 10th, 2020 with the managers of famed arcade Mikado and Akihabara Beep Retro Gaming Shop, who detailed how dire the situation was. If you read the article, then you'll see the highlights of the interview of the respective arcade owners. And yeah, it's sadly going to also be a trend across the world that public places of entertainment will be shut down, or you won't see as much people as you would have in the past.
It sucks because like when I went to Japan in what was that, like 2014, like they have a ton of arcades, and that was like I felt like that was the one country you could go to like really experience arcades and how
the
big
the real version of it,
and like actually updated and modern and not just. But it also makes me worry about like here we have where I live, we have at least 2 like retro barcades that I know of, and one's around like Comic-Con area, and it makes me worried about those places because obviously those places probably aren't getting much business.
That is true. Because you're interacting with physical objects, and those objects would have to be disinfected every time someone touches it, and kind of defeats the purpose of playing on an arcade cabinet.
The one thing is that they are also a restaurant and have food, and from what I've heard, their food is decent. So like maybe they've been getting by off of like delivering food or something. Like I would hope they have something in place because I don't want to see them like close once like things get a bit better.
That is
get better enough that people can start going out again.
Oh well. Next up is Japan Post is suspending airmail and EMS to the United States due to COVID-19. An article by Sato for Silicon Era. Earlier this month, Japan has suspended the delivery of international mail to 153 countries, which didn't include the US. The Japan Post Service shared a notice concerning the temporary suspension of airmail and EMS addressed to the United States. The Japan Post announced that it will suspend EMS and airmail addressed to the United States starting April 24, 2020, due to the COVID-19 global pandemic. There will also be major delays of any international mail addressed to the United States. So you posted this in the group Discord earlier, and you said that importing games would then also be affected by this.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
We also have a listener question related to this from our friend Monty. She was saying, that's where I thought I would throw it in. So she was asking us how we feel about how this whole pandemic is being handled in Japan, with lockdowns happening later than the rest of the world. A beginning notion of 2 masks a household. I didn't know about that. Will it probably hurt the country like the rest of the world? The short answer is yeah, probably. But also, and I think we talked about it a little bit on the last podcast, but it's interesting to see that Japan, who like is kind of a bit more health conscious than like somewhere like the US, they responded to it later than other places. But then I was talking to my friend who lives in Japan, and after talking to her and reading up a little bit, it seems to like now it's the whole country that's in a state of emergency, but before it was kind of by prefecture, kind of like how over here it's by state.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just kind of interesting to see Japan respond to it later, especially because they're also closer to China.
Yeah.
So you would think they would have responded to it much earlier.
We talked about this a few weeks ago, and I then said, referring to a video by Reina Scully, it's probably because on the one hand they're underestimating it, and on the other they have a general level of hygiene and cleanliness that's much higher than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And they already have a culture of wearing face masks when you're sick or feeling under the weather. So that, in a sense, would not have impacted them as much. But I think them having that already made them underestimate this. And I think why they're now in a sort of panic is because Japan has a pretty big elderly population.
Yeah, that is true.
And that is scary because we know that the virus affects the elderly and the compromised a lot more than, let's say, able-bodied young people. So
yeah, that's why Italy got struck so hard, right? Is because they have a big elderly population as well.
Yeah. So if that starts a chain of events in Japan, that's a lot of the population, and they are right to be scared at the moment. But yeah, hoping that it wasn't too late to change the tide, and hopefully, they can still.
I feel like in Japan they're probably at least more respectful of the whole procedure, unlike in America where some people are not smart about things. To put it,
totally not throwing shade at anyone.
Yeah, but yeah, like I would think that, and they are being, from what I've seen, they are trying to be more proactive. Well, not that. Like, especially for kids, in America, we have, like, I've seen ads from, like, Cartoon Network and stuff, and it's like, remember to wash your hands and do this, and they have a little thing. And then in Japan, they're like, they have, like, a whole thing, like, 5 things that Ultraman says to do to make sure of your hygiene or something.
They're pretty on top of
stuff like that.
This announcements. Like, the whole country is connected to that. You have PA systems across the nation, so even if it is a rural, remote area, you'd still get the notification to wash your hands on time and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so hopefully Japan makes it out of this okay, but obviously it's hard to tell since we're not in Japan.
We should have a correspondent in Japan.
Yeah, now we go live to somebody else.
I wonder if I know anybody who's in Japan right now. Well, I do know somebody, but I wonder if somebody would be willing to be on the podcast. Anyways, we can move on to the actual other news. I guess it's good news compared to all the stuff we just went over.
The better news.
I usually just say
it. Makes you smile.
Yeah, I usually just say it. In other news, so the Ninjala open beta starts on April 28th, 2020 for Nintendo Switch. Between April 28th and 29th, Nintendo Switch owners will have the chance to sample the Gung Ho Online entertainment multiplayer game about ninjas who use bubblegum to bolster their skill sets. It says April 28th, the whole day. It's about the whole day for that weekend. There are like certain times.
Where the beta will be active?
12 to 12:59. Yeah, so on April 28th, it's going to be active at, that's kind of weird, 12 to 12:59 p.m. Pacific time, which is 3:59 p.m. Eastern time, and then once again from 8 to 8:59 on that same day, and then, that's weird. It's going to be up for an hour, and then it's going to go down, and it's going to go up for an hour, and it's going to go down again, and the next day it's going to
probably
be up for an
to
hour.
test the server load. Yeah,
that's true. Ninjala is a thing that I've been keeping my eye on ever since I saw like a big booth for it. I want to say 2 E3s ago.
The first I'd seen of it was in that direct. This wasn't on my radar.
Yeah, so what's funny is there was like a big push for it, and then it just kind of like at E3 there was like they had a big booth, and you could play the version that was out then, and then it kind of just disappeared for a while, and then came back, and a lot of people compare it to Splatoon, and because Splatoon is having its like final Splatfest like thing soon, it kind of seems like pretty good timing.
Yeah. You know what I'm wondering?
Yeah, for sure.
Is how many people in the voice chat will be screaming "Gum Gum"?
Gum Gum.
Yeah.
Reference to One Piece.
I will. It doesn't require a Nintendo Switch Online, so that's interesting. So also an animated short. The full game comes on May 27th, and it is free. So that will be really interesting to play. I already you can pre-download it already, the beta.
Cool.
I already did that, not realizing that it wasn't until next week, and it was doing that like checking if you can play the game yet. It's like, no, you can't play the game yet. I was like, what? I was like, oh, it's next week. Okay. So I'm kind of excited for that. Because I never really got into Splatoon, but maybe I'll like this one a little better. Next story. Make Basic Switch game started April 20... Oh, that's today. I guess it released today. So, Smile Basic 4 released on Switch internationally. It was out in Japan previously. It is about 20... Oh. Wait. Whoops. This is not in the US. This is in Europe, and a North American launch date has yet to be announced. However, it is very easy to make a European Nintendo Switch account.
Yeah.
So you can at least have it in your preferred language, probably. Smile Basic 4 allows people to both create their own games or play basic games other Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS have users, well, I was missing a word there, have created within the app. When making games, people can plug in a USB keyboard or mouse to help. There's a guide for beginners and sample programs included. 40 pre-made background themes and 100 sound effects. Supports Joy-Cons and Labo Toy-Cons. So that's just a cool little thing where you can make little Switch games. It's no Dreams, but what is?
Right, yeah.
But if you want to start making, like, now is kind of the best time to start thinking about making games, game making stuff. If you've always wanted to make a game, you can use like Smile Basic 4, RPG Maker, Dreams. You can make levels in Levelhead, which just came out, Super Mario Maker 2, which just had that update. Good time to make a bunch of games and levels. You want to take the next one?
I'll take the next two. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the one after that is all you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sony patent reveals that Sony's toying with robot companion that reacts to players' emotions. This is by Zarmina Khan for PlayStation Lifestyle. Sony Interactive Entertainment has filed a patent for a robot that acts as a gaming companion and reacts to players' emotions. The patent describes a situation in which the autonomous robot sits on the sofa next to a user and watches them play a game. The companion would be able to partake in the game as well as react to players' emotions. The robot may participate in the game as a virtual player and, for example, may virtually operate the opponent team of a baseball game being played by the user. Okay, the patent description is so confusing, but in general it means that you'd have a co-op partner in the robot.
It sounds like they're making Rob the Robot, like a new one, but now it has feelings. And this sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, there's no way that this is actually going to come out, right? Like, this is going to be, this is one of those patents that they make so that nobody else makes a patent, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the sort of thing that, like, Nintendo did a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember leading up to the Switch, everyone was like, oh man, the shoulder buttons are going to be like click wheels, and oh man, they're going to be new amiibo that you don't have to touch to anything to scan. The Switch knows where the amiibo is in 3D space, and that never happened either, right? So this is one of those things where it's just like, this is just a wild idea.
Yeah,
that,
just
sort of like how the exactly, like the PS5 controller was supposed to like sense your sweat and stuff. It's like, it's totally not going to do that.
Yeah.
It's just, that's always the thing with these patent news things. It's just like, maybe 1 out of 10 will actually happen, but a lot of them are just like, we made a robot that plays baseball with you. It's like, all right, okay.
That's not weird.
Sure, Sony.
It's like,
yeah.
It's totally not going to lead to Skynet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next
Robot revolution.
Next up is Yasumi Matsuno is being coy about Vagrant Story on Twitter by Lucas White for Siliconera. The latest update to Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers came with a new line of story quests called Save the Queen, and there's something a little special about this quest line. Namely, Yasumi Matsuno helped create the scenario, and it's connected to Final Fantasy XIV's Return to Ivalice storyline. Matsuno, who has been the Ivalice guy for years now, found an opportunity to drop a Vagrant Story sequel tease on Twitter. To quote the tweet, "I want to know the reaction of the Save the Queen quest series, other than Japan, or other than the people in Japan. Where should I read?" The story follows. Matsuno was specifically on Twitter to ask fans outside of Japan for feedback on Save the Queen scenario. A fan chimed in up to offer their opinion and inadvertently sparked a nod from Matsuno to the cult classic Vagrant Story. He noted a certain aspect of Save the Queen came from Vagrant Story's sequel concept he's had on the shelf for decades. Naturally, the tweet drew some attention, and other fans teased Matsuno about wanting that sequel. Matsuno then did that thing creators sometimes do when they try to light a bit of fire for their pet projects. See for yourself. So the fan asks Matsuno, "Alright, it's time for the sequel." And then Matsuno replies with, "But just you wait. Just you wait. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark." This could all be nothing, but it could also be something, because these days with Square Enix, you never know what they're planning. And seeing how,
especially with Final Fantasy XIV.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So Final Fantasy XIV paired with Final Fantasy XII getting a re-release a few years back and getting some popularity back, and then the new War of the Brave Exvius one, the tactics game on mobile, also having Final Fantasy Tactics collaboration. It's all coming together a bit too suspiciously. So I don't know. It might be something. It might not be. Time will tell. Time will tell.
I've never played Vagrant Story. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
So it's kind of an experimental-esque RPG, action RPG for the original PlayStation. And it has a unique art style. I think it was also done by Akihiko Yoshida, who does the artwork for Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler.
Okay, that's why it looks kind of familiar.
Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 14. Okay. So it all has that cohesive artwork, and I think this is more or less the genesis of the Ivalice world. It actually doesn't really have that many connections, but over the years it has been retconned into being one whole big world.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really beloved series, or beloved game, I should say. And people have been clamoring for a remake or a sequel ever since. So here's to hoping something might spring from this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those one and done RPGs that people have wanted like a continuation of, kind of like a kind of like Skies of Arcadia
or Legend of
or
Dragoon.
anything like, or Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah.
Sort of. But if for some reason, like, you know, there was Skies of Arcadia, and then for whatever reason, like Yakuza 12 took place in the Skies of Arcadia world, that's what this would be, right? Like, because Final Fantasy 12 took place in Evil East, and so did Tactics.
Oh, whoa.
So did Tactics.
Yeah.
And I want to say maybe one other game did that I'm not remembering what it is.
Revenant. Isn't that one Final Fantasy 12 spin-off on DS called like Revenant Wings?
Yeah.
I think there's another like full-blown RPG as well, but I can't remember. But Wikipedia knows. So
there was going to be a spin-off for in the Final Fantasy series called Fortress. Alexa Ray Correa did an article for this on GameSpot a few years back, and it is a really cool concept. So I'd say that would be something to check up on if you have any time. That would also be set in the Evil East world.
Yeah, and if Final Fantasy 14 is doing Evil East stuff, then it stands to reason that they're going to be doing something with, you know, those games stories and or characters or at least music or whatever, right? Because there's like near music in Final Fantasy 14 now, and you can get like Magitech armor and stuff too. Like it's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see. Next story is Danganronpa mobile games will be released worldwide. This is by Jenny Latta over at Siliconera. So they announced before that for the 10th I cannot talk today. For the 10th anniversary of Danganronpa. Yeah. For the 10th anniversary of Danganronpa, they are releasing them on mobile devices, the whole main trilogy. In Japan, and now they're confirmed to be being released worldwide, which I'm kind of surprised now that they haven't announced a Switch release yet, because I always see that stuff about how porting it to mobile first makes it easier to port to Switch or something. I don't know where I read that, but I feel like I read that somewhere. But I also get it from like the Dragon Quest ports for Switch are the mobile version, and then there's some other stuff like that. So since these will be mobile ports, all three will have new UIs to make them easier to see and control via touchscreens. There will also be a newly added gallery where you can see things like concept art and event scenes. As a reminder, this is only the first of the Danganronpa anniversary announcements. More will be coming via monthly updates that will begin in May 2020. So a Switch announcement is not off the table yet.
No, I wouldn't say so. Maybe that will be the last announcement.
I still need to play the third
Actually,
one.
in related news, Steins Gate also is having its 10th anniversary, and Hello Kitty will be making its way to the series. I am not even kidding. I'll share the link later. Okay.
Next, you're gonna tell me like, oh, they're gonna put Doraemon in Zero Escape, and I'll be like,
Hey, don't knock it until you try it. I'll take the next.
I'm not opposed to that.
I'll take the next one. Final Fantasy VII Remake shipments and digital sales topped 3.5 million in 3 days. Oh boy. By Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Total worldwide shipments and digital sales for Final Fantasy VII Remake surpassed 3.5 million units in the 3 days following its April 10th release, Square Enix announced. Square Enix describes the game's digital release or digital sales as exceptional and continuing to increase. According to Japanese outlets such as Famitsu and Gamer.ne.jp, Final Fantasy VII Remake shipments and digital sales surpassed 1 million units in Japan alone. Since the physical edition shipped 7 133,000 copies in its first 3 days in Japan and sold 702,853 to consumers. The digital edition should account for at least 267,000 sales in the country. So Final Fantasy is doing really well these days.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all cooped up.
It's one of the like 3 games that are new that you can play right now. So this is
it's either this
it
or
makes
Animal
sense.
Crossing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are only 2 flavors for quarantine gaming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll take this next one. Speaking of Animal Crossing, even the J, I believe that J stands for John, but I don't know why they put J. The Getty Museum is offering Animal Crossing designs. So this is kind of like how we were talking about how last week I believe it was the Monterey Bay Aquarium was doing a live stream and through an Animal Crossing museum and just saying like facts about all the fish and like sea creatures that were in it. And that was pretty cool at a time where people can't really go to museums right now. So now the famous Getty Museum, they are making it easier for famous works of art to appear as Animal Crossing designs. Account shared its Animal Crossing art generator. People who visit the site, which uses the already established open source Animal Crossing pattern tool made by Thilinma, Dam Senviet, and Mayumi, can tap into the museum's art collection for Animal Crossing designs. The catch is people do need to be Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. Once people have picked a piece of Getty artwork, they crop the section they'd like to have appear in Animal Crossing New Horizons. All of Getty's images are exported as Animal Crossing QR codes. You then use the Nook Link Nintendo Switch Online smartphone app to scan these in one at a time. Once you're in game, you'll be able to download them one by one and apply them to things. So that's pretty cool. You can have some nice artwork in your Animal Crossing island.
Yeah. And it could also be a fun way for families that are inside to have some education going on. Like mom and dad can chime in and also learn stuff and then relate that back to how the kid is enjoying the game. And this is really cool to see.
Speaking of Animal Crossing, we actually have 2 more related stories. And the first is that Animal Crossing New Horizons version 1.2.0 update now available. Seasonal events, new merchants, and bug fixes. This is from Sal Romano over at Gamatsu. So Nintendo has released the recently announced version 1.2.0 update for Animal Crossing New Horizons. The following visiting merchants can now visit the island. Leaf with his gardening shop and Red with Jolly Red's treasure trawler added seasonal events and addressed issues to further ensure an enjoyable gaming experience. Nintendo, let me craft multiple things at once.
One day.
I was really hoping for that on this or a future one.
I mean, we got Leaf the Wheat Merchant. Small steps.
Small steps.
I don't think he's a weed merchant.
Hey, he buys all your weed, so kind of. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
He actually buys your weed for twice the price the Tanuki brothers buy them up. So if you find clumps of weed, hit up your boy Leaf.
Today was annoying because the update happened, but right as today my Nook's Cranny is upgrading. So they were closed, and I was like, so I'm just doing the usual thing, and I'm like, okay, where do I put these things I usually sell to them? I'm just holding all these butterflies and fish, and just what do I do?
Set them free.
Need to make the money. I thought tarantula season was over, but I got killed by a tarantula or knocked out by a tarantula.
Oh no, yeah, that's gonna be around till summer when scorpions show up.
No. Wait.
Oh boy, I still haven't caught one tarantula, so I don't know.
They're tricky, dude.
And then another thing about Animal Crossing is that it is breaking some crazy records. So this is a tweet from Nibelian at Nibelian, who usually like tweets about video game related stuff, and it's from MPD. Oh, I guess it's actually from VentureBeat. I should have actually done that. Whoops. Basically, Animal Crossing New Horizons launch numbers surpass any Mario or Zelda title in the U.S. Third best-selling Nintendo game ever, behind Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Currently the second best-selling title of the year in the U.S. behind Modern Warfare.
That is crazy.
It's like sort of expected because of, you know, the anticipation of that game and how, you know, us being in the situation where everybody's kind of got nothing else to do but buy and play this game, but it's still wild to get the confirmation that it really is that popular.
Yeah.
And then there are like celebrities playing it. Yeah, Elijah
Keegan is
Wood.
playing. Yeah, there was a story on that on Nerdist today.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I could never have imagined Animal Crossing
wonder,
doing
when it's
this
said
well.
and done at the end of the year, just how crazy this, if it'll be like the highest selling game of the year or what.
I mean, will it be on its way to becoming Nintendo's best-selling franchise or best-selling game ever?
Okay.
Time can only tell. I'll take the next one. Sega wants to hear your thoughts for the company's 60th anniversary. You kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, Sega, but okay. This is an article by Sato for Siliconera. Sega updated its 60th anniversary website with a message asking fans to share their thoughts about the company. Those who enter will get a chance at scoring some exclusive limited edition goods. Those of you interested in submitting a message can do it here at the link on the website. The message submission form is on the Japanese page, but it comes with an English translated text. Simply follow the steps below. So check the website or the link at Siliconera, and then you can submit your thoughts. I mean, this is really an interesting move by Sega. Like, I expected a lot of announcements to be coming this year, and they've said there will be announcements concerning the Sonic franchise, but I thought there would be more, man. Like Skies of Arcadia HD remake or something.
Please,
Oh
yes.
man, I need it. I need that so
Please.
bad.
I've never even played it, but I've wanted it because I like Sky Pirates.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
But okay,
And that game is nowhere to be, like, you can't, like, at least Blue Dragon I can, you know, download it on my Xbox, but I can't in any way, shape, or form get at Skies of Arcadia, and that sucks.
Yeah.
It's stuck on a Dreamcast and GameCube.
Yeah.
Did you guys know there was actually like there was a Game Boy Advance like sequel in development for a little while, and then they just like they just weren't into it, so they never really finished it, and they were just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I feel like if it sold better on GameCube, then we would probably be, you know, talking about how cool the port was, or, you know, whatever. But we will unfortunately not be able to do that. I wonder if we'll ever get some kind of a port, but I don't know. Sega seems to be kind of like turning a corner with basically deciding, why don't we do good games that people want, or why don't we pay attention to things that, you know, people are begging for, like, you know, Yakuza localization and, you know, being able to play all of them and all that kind of stuff. So I have hope for the future for that specific title, because I have a vested interest in it, right? But I am definitely, you know, sad that I can't just like load it up and play it.
Yeah, understandable. Oh well. Here's hoping to the 61st anniversary, Sega.
Right? Yeah. Maybe
Hey,
I'll go on this survey and type in just Skies of Arcadia all in caps.
It's still early in the year. We could get something of.
I mean, that's
this
true.
year.
Maybe
Never
due
know.
to everything happening, they postponed all their announcements.
I do wonder if we're gonna be getting a bunch of ports just because the work that needs to be done on those is not as much as, making a game from scratch, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if, depending on how long this whole thing goes, I wonder if we're going to get some ports. I mean, there was those rumored Mario 64 remake stuff that's potentially happening soon and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah.
No. I'll take this one too.
I was gonna take the last two
because the last one is all you, man. It just
okay.
It
You know what? Fine. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. My Nintendo app now available for iOS, Android, in Japan. As always,
for now,
Nintendo is always late to the party everywhere. But okay. This is an article by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Nintendo has released. Did he just? Okay. Anyway, there's a spelling error, so that threw me off.
Oh.
Nintendo released the My Nintendo app in Japan for iOS via the App Store and Android via Google Play. The app allows users to check the latest Nintendo news, discover and purchase games and merchandise that appeals to their interests through the My Nintendo store. Create a wish list, check their gameplay records, and check into Nintendo Tokyo and other live events by QR code. So essentially, they made the PlayStation app, but for Nintendo,
which is great. I hope it comes over here in some way, shape, or form, because I would love to be able to buy things on mobile.
Yeah.
Mostly because the Switch store is kind of garbage, but
yeah.
Just in general, I would love to be able to just maybe even if I could do preload stuff, that would be so great. If I could say, hey, I bought this, my Switch is connected to Wi-Fi, download this on my Switch while I'm, out somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. They've been so slow to kind of get with the times, but with this kind of stuff, and there was that news about the like activist investors that are trying to put money into Nintendo to influence them to maybe become a more formidable force in the kind of larger media landscape. So we'll see if they they understand how to work their router at Nintendo in the future here, and see if they can finally log on. Yeah. Not putting my hopes up too much for that though.
No. Oh well.
Yeah. It's like they're always one step forward, two steps back, So this last news story we have is very me. This is from Jenny Latta over at Siliconera. A new Mario and Bowser toys inspired by Ultraman. So a new line of Mario and Bowser toys have been revealed on Bid Toys Facebook and Instagram pages. And they are inspired by an unexpected source. Introducing Minolta and Kubala, the Ultraman-like tokusatsu versions of the two Nintendo icons. Both of these Mario and Bowser toys are made of vinyl and are designed to call to mind characters people would see in the superhero series. Minolta wears a suit that's nearly identical to the Ultraman that appeared in the original Ultraman TV series. Meanwhile, Kubala looks like most lizard-like kaiju. The closest comparison might actually be Bemular, the first Ultraman villain. However, he doesn't look all that dissimilar from Godzilla. And then it has some photos, so you can take a look at that. I never thought there would be a day that I wanted a Mario or Bowser figure, because I'm usually a Yoshi person, but
Nintendo's been getting really weird with their toys lately. I mean, the what is it? The new Lego Mario thing is like super weird and out of left field in a very Nintendo way, and this is a very Nintendo crossover. It reminds me of that was it the Carrie Pemu like the fashion line stuff that happened a while ago too? Yeah, it's like I never would have expected this as a crossover, but here we are.
I think they're just gearing up for the what is it, there's a park opening with Mario theme. There's the movie coming.
The Nintendo Land stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is
But a lot of those are like delayed though, so I just wonder if they're just rolling out they're showing off this stuff anyway because they're like, well, we can do this.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's probably a bigger multimedia campaign to get Mario more in the picture, and that in conjunction with the re-release of the older Mario games on Switch, I think we're gonna be looking forward to a pretty good year for Mario and the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, isn't it like a 35th anniversary or something like that?
Yeah.
Sounds
That's really cool.
The only problem I could see with this is that Big Toys seems to be a Japanese company, so
you have
don't know if we'll be
Asia
able to get
and you
them
have
here.
J-List.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying, like, because we talked about the outgoing mail to the U.S.
That's true.
Oh yeah,
But of course, these don't have a release date yet.
Yeah.
right.
So by the time they do, maybe stuff will be figured out.
Hopefully.
It's cool to know that they exist, though.
Well, one thing. Recently, Ultraman and the others have been also getting some spotlight in the US. So
yeah, because of Super Raya.
yeah, so I don't think it's that far off to see this collaboration coming to the West.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my god. Don't even get not to get me started on this. We've talked about like a couple Ultraman games actually coming to the US soon, and then, Project GG, that upcoming Platinum game that's
Yeah.
Ultraman.
It's like Christmas
And then,
for
like,
Erroll.
Yeah.
and we got Wonderful 101 port, and then I'm just can we get a Beautiful Joe port too, please? And just oh my god. So moving on to the main topic, we thought we'd talk about, well, since we can't really do 7 Remake ending stuff, and there was some next-gen speculation, but we've done that a couple times, and that's kind of stale right now. We are going to talk about our guests' favorite Japanese games. So go ahead, Nate.
Yeah. I have I don't know. I have like a list of 10. How many do we want to talk?
It doesn't matter.
I can just
We're
rattle off
winging
a bunch of them.
as long as
yeah.
you have something.
So, I mean, obviously, stuff like Breath of the Wild, stuff like Chrono Trigger, Katamari, Mario Kart 8, Octopath Traveler's up there too. At least mechanics-wise. Story-wise, I wasn't super great on it. But the biggest ones for me, though, are Pokemon Gold or Pokemon Silver or Crystal, that sort of
Heck
thing.
yeah.
I just recently replayed I played Crystal for the first time. I downloaded it on 3DS and played it, and I was able to transfer the Pokemon over to Pokemon Home, which was really awesome. It was such a formative game for me, and what I like about a Pokemon game, what I like about games in general, and just the music and the color palette and all that kind of stuff.
It's so good.
I argue that the original Crystal is better than Heart Gold and Soul Silver in my opinion.
How dare
because
you. Get out of here.
I just think that it captures the vibe of Johto and Kanto so well, and it leaves more up to your imagination, I think, which is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they're awesome games. They're also 10 out of 10 games, but I just think that Crystal is an 11 out of 10 game, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, any way that you play the second generation of Pokemon, that's my favorite generation of Pokemon.
Yeah, same.
For sure. Just you can get 16 badges, that's never been done again in a Pokemon game.
Nope.
And I doubt they'll ever do it again.
Oh, you know what you should play now? If you finish Crystal, you should try Crystal Clear. It's a ROM hack where you can choose one out of 16 different starter Pokemon, and you can start from any town in Johto or Kanto.
Oh, that's really cool.
And the level scaling is kind of crazy, and my entire team got killed by a Dunsparce.
Wow.
Wild. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm big into
yeah, I'll send
Gen
you the
2,
link
right?
because it's
So,
hard to get it because they don't want Nintendo to
Exactly. Yeah, you got to go through back channels for that kind of a thing, right?
So the thing about Heart Gold and Soul Silver, now that you mentioned it, so I love the Soul Silver. I unfortunately don't have anymore because I don't know why, but I love that it's like it has it's the second gen, but it includes all the improvements from the fourth gen.
Yeah,
that I like.
The special attack stuff and the special defense split from later gens happen.
And I think
and
it has
rebalancing in 4.
The Pokeball stickers still too. I think it still does. And then the Pokemon following you, that was like a big thing.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's a feature that I think everybody wants to come back still, right? And this is like the major point of contention with the Pokemon Company, right? Is that like they introduce things and then they throw so much of it away for just the next game, and that's why having Galarian forms in Sword and Shield was so cool, because we thought that was just going to be a gimmick for Sun and Moon, right? I thought that was just going to be a one-off and then they wouldn't do it, but then once they started talking about like Obstagoon and other Pokemon like that, I was like, okay, this is like, there's no way they're going to just do it 2 times in a row, right? Like they're going to either do it once or it's going to like be a change going forward. So and I know some people are a little bit upset that we don't get new Pokemon and instead we get a bunch of different forms for stuff. But I think as like a literal lifelong fan of the series, I'm cool with seeing literally whatever.
Yeah.
I think new evolutions of old Pokemon was kind of long overdue, and I think they still don't do it quite enough.
Right.
Like Surfetch'd comes to mind. Obstagoon, I love Obstagoon, but I didn't think he was like necessary.
No. It was an interesting like design, right? But I don't know that it needed to come from Linoon. Like I don't think it needed to be in the Zigzagoon like thing. I think it could have been like its own line or something like that. But it makes it a little bit more interesting. And like I said, I like a lot of the older Pokemon games. So seeing something from Gen 3 get a new evolution and a new form at the same time is pretty cool. Same thing with like Runagrigus and stuff like that. It's like really interesting ways to go and evolve your Pokemon too.
Way too hard.
Yeah, or too hard. Yeah, but like again though, like I kind of don't want to be able to do some of these things very easily, right? Like I want to, going back to the older games, like. In Gen 2, it was so damn hard to get an evolution stone. It was so hard. You had to get this one girl's phone number and hope that she called you with a gift. And over the course of the game, my playthrough, I got 2 gifts, and they were neither one of the stones that I needed. I was training up a Bellsprout and a Poliwag from the beginning because they're close to the beginning, and I thought typing wise this is going to be okay. But then I just never got those evolution stones, and then they just like fell behind, so I couldn't use them. But all that said, Pokemon Gold is my favorite. Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal is my favorite Pokemon games. I guess my like second favorite game from Japan is Castlevania Rondo of Blood.
Ooh.
Just before we move on to that, I just want to say one more thing about Pokemon related. So since we've both played Disc Creatures, at least a little bit, I haven't finished it yet. I'm not even close.
Yeah, I played like two fairly long sessions in it.
It's a great game. I had an interview with the creator over on indiehangover.com, which is unfortunately not up right now because it's switching servers. But the creator, Sato, he is working on a sequel called Disc Creatures World that is very much in the style of Heart Gold and Soul Silver graphically, and the creatures like follow you around. He's put a couple of screenshots and GIFs on his Twitter. Yeah,
I thought that game had a lot of personality and stuff. I don't play a lot of games on PC, so that was sort of the main thing. Like, especially now that I work from home, I sit in front of my same computer all day, and so like when I'm done and I want to relax, I'm not going to sit in my my chair at my desk. I want to sit down on a couch. So I would love for Disc Creatures, the first one, to get a a port on Switch because I think a lot of people would like to play it, and they do a lot of weird, interesting stuff in there. I should definitely like go back and give it some more time a day because it was it was pretty awesome. But yeah, no, my second favorite game from Japan is Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which came out for the TurboGrafx 16 and is a prequel. I wouldn't call it a prequel. Symphony of the Night is a sequel to this game. So it's sort of a point of contention with me where I'm like, no, this was the good one. You guys went in a weird direction. Like whenever people are like, oh yeah, Castlevania or Metroidvania games, I was like, the Vania is just a Metroid game, but with a Castlevania coat on it. Yeah. The best Castlevania game is Rondo of Blood. I think it have either of you played it?
A little bit, but
no, it's in the collection. It's in the like Requiem collection that's for PS4 that comes with Symphony and this. Yeah. It is like some of the most amazing. Like the TurboGrafx 16 color palette was wild. It was so like vibrant and interesting, and a lot of the sprites got amazing animation to it. My favorite example is there's in this boat level, there are like two instances of this enemy where he's like a skeleton in a purple robe and he has like a rifle, right? And he he's like I don't know if he's like an old man or something, but he's like sitting down or whatever, and he'll shoot you, and then like you see the shell come out of the gun, and then you see him reload it, and then like go to shoot you again. Like it's like the amount of like, we're going to put in this amount of animation frames into this was so like, it was just so cool to see. And it's like only in one or two screens in the entire game, you see this thing that got so much like, care and respect. But other than that, I won't drag it out too far, especially since neither of you have like, fully played it. But it's just this really vibrant game. The colors are amazing. The mechanics are great. There's a hidden character that changes the way that you play the game like completely. Instead of a whip, she's a little girl, and she uses birds. Like she has two birds that will like fly out and hit something for us. But she doesn't do as much damage. So you can attack more often than with the whip, which is slower, but it does less damage, and she can double jump, which is awesome too, but she also takes more damage. So it's like a cool little risk reward thing that I ended up maining. And there's like hidden bosses. If you fall into a bottomless pit in that game, you don't die, you just go to another level.
That's so cool.
Yeah, there is basically the world map is like, if you want to picture it, it's like in a Super Mario world overworld sort of a thing. It's one level. You go right to another level that branches off, and then from there it makes a big square of levels, and then there's a final level on the right side of it. So it makes like a symmetrical like square basically, with a first level and a last level on it. But if you're on one of the top levels and you fall, you just like, if you're in the mansion and you fall into a hole, you end up in the sewer level, and that's the path you're on now. It's it's almost like Sonic in that way, where like if you do well, you can stay up top and do this, but if you do bad, then you have to go down here on this path, right? I just thought that was so cool to have. I discovered it on my Wii, the virtual console for the Wii, way back in the day. Right. I almost downloaded. I downloaded like one game every couple of days just because I wanted a collection, and now like that's the reason why I have my Wii U still, is because I have like some 100 odd games on there for my virtual console, and it's just so cool to be like, oh, the TurboGrafx 16, I don't even know what that is, and then just get into it and be like, wow, this was sort of like a hypercolor Super Nintendo,
So are you excited for
the games are weird.
The mini that's coming out?
The mini?
The TurboGrafx mini?
Yeah, I don't know if Rondo's in that one, but I know there are a bunch of like the TurboGrafx was a because it was a Konami system. Yeah. It had a lot of shoot 'em ups, and that is not my genre at all. But
hey, it also had Bonk.
Exactly, and that's why the TurboGrafx didn't do well, right? You got Mario the cheery Italian, and you got like a weird, like drugged out caveman as your mascot. It's like that's
love
nothing.
Bonk.
Well,
Bonk for Smash though. I would go hard for that.
Oh my god.
so I just checked the TurboGrafx mini list, and Castlevania Rondo of Blood is on it. So,
hey, awesome. Yeah, and I played it in the original like Japanese, right? Because what the version on the Wii Virtual Console wasn't translated or redubbed, because there is like voice lines in that. So there's, all the title cards for everything are all in Japanese and stuff. And it was just cool to be like, I'm playing a secret game, but then it turns out to be like this amazing game that has, these branching paths. The animation and color looks so awesome. The levels are intricate and like difficult, but not Castlevania 1 through 3 difficult, It's just such an awesome thing. And so if you have a PS4, you can download the Requiem collection, which includes Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. I think you could probably hear me from the International Space Station when I yelled when that game got announced, because Rondo got ported and I don't have to. It's just that one more thing that I like don't have to worry about my Wii U exploding in the middle of the night, because that game won't be lost to time. But so that's my number 2. And I think my favorite game, and it's something that we even said we were going to talk about later, my favorite game from Japan is Bloodborne. Without a doubt, probably my favorite video game of all time. But those lists jumble around. Like I have like a top 5 that continuously shifts depending on what I'm feeling like, right? But I am not a so the background on it is I'm not a Souls person. Like Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, not really my thing, because I don't really like a lot of fantasy settings. So the whole like swords and shields and dragons and stuff really isn't my jam. Even though those games go way weird with it. There's like skeletons that are riding in a big wheel and stuff like that in Dark Souls. But I worked at GameStop at the time, and my manager, because when you're a manager at a GameStop, you get codes sent to you sometimes. And she had a code for Bloodborne, and I had just impulse bought a PS4 because I broke up with my longtime girlfriend, and like, I had like I don't know what you call it, like a quarter life crisis. I was just like, I need to spend money on something. I need to do something stupid, right? And so I bought this PS4, and I really didn't have a whole lot to play on it. And she was like, well, here, I can give you this code for Bloodborne. I was like, okay. I played it for like 3 hours straight one night and hated it. I was like, this sucks. It's so obtuse. It's so antagonistic unnecessarily to you. And I was like, I'm done with this. And so the next day I played it again, even though I said I was done with it. And I got mad at it again. And then this happened like for like no joke, like 4 days in a row. I like kept trying to give it its fair shake, and I would like at the end of the day I would give it up, but I would still want to go back the next day. And eventually I got to the point where I got an insight point and I could level up, and that's when stuff started to snowball in my favor. And then very quickly it became something that I would I would be either at work, sleeping, eating, or playing that game. And it was like that for quite a bit. I got the whip cane because I wanted it to be a Castlevania game. And it was so like, I don't know if you could call a game like that magical, but it's so like captivating. And I'm not usually somebody that plays games for the story or the lore. I usually play video games for sort of the mechanics or the sort of the communicating with a piece of software via a controller, like thing, the game feel. Exactly, the game feel is huge for me. And then after that, it's like animation and visual quality. But then after that, it's story maybe. And so for me, it was really cool to have a game that was just like, it started out as here's your weapon, go kill the bad guys. And you go, okay, cool, I love that as a prompt because whatever, that's all I need. I can imagine whatever scenario I want for this. And as it goes, have either of you played Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Okay, have either of you beat it?
I...
Or you know where it kind of goes?
Yeah, I know where it goes, so I don't mind you spoiling it.
Okay, I was gonna say spoilers for any listeners. You may want to like skip forward a little bit, but so it starts out as you're going against like werewolves, right?
Yeah.
Like beastmen and stuff like that. And so you start thinking like, oh, maybe it's something with the moon, and you're damn right it's something with the moon, but it's not in the way that you think, because about I don't know, like maybe 10 hours in or so, you're in this forest with a bunch of snakes, and you're just fighting your way through this forest with snakes, and in this little valley there is just like a straight up like classic basically like gray alien, and you're like, wait a minute, what is this guy doing here? It's this little like blue guy with a big head and like huge eyes, and he's one of the first, I think he's actually the first enemy that uses what you would call magic, but in that game it's arcane. They use like a spell on you basically to bind you in place, and you're like, that was weird in a way that I'm not used to. And so the boss in that area is like your standard kind of multi-boss Dark Souls thing where it's 3 people that are fighting you.
Yeah.
And that's normal.
The shadows of your...
And then yes, and those guys are jerks. But,
oh my god.
So you think that, if you hadn't run into those little alien guys, you would just think like, oh, the abilities of these guys, they can summon snakes and whatever. It's like, yeah, they probably got some weird cursed stuff going on. Maybe it's magic.
Yeah.
And then you go to it's called the College of Bergenworth.
Yeah.
And there is like this person that is like half fly, half person that's there, and they like will suck your brains out. There's another guy that literally sucks the insight points out of your head, which is like it is and you don't get it back. That the resource of insight is limited in a playthrough. It's possible to get so much insight sucked out of your head by these people that you can no longer like go back and spend your points to level up and get items and stuff, because this guy just took the knowledge out of your brain basically. But later in the College of Bergenworth, there's like a big centipede that like opens up a portal to space and like throws comets at you. It's like so wild of a left turn. And so you keep going into this game, and like eventually it turns out that it's they're doing some like Cthulhu old god stuff. And so when I say like it's probably something with the moon, you're damn right it is, because it's literally like the final secret boss of the game is called Moon Presence, and it's literally an alien from the moon that you fight at the end. And so like the story is super weird and grotesque, and I won't get into a lot of the details for that, but it's just the journey of going through this place, and that it's sort of like almost like a Zelda game in that you have a silent protagonist, and you're just being led on a string by the quest, the main quest of this game. Sometimes you talk to people, but mostly you're just like going through this place and killing whatever beasts think they can try to step to you, right? So it's so interesting of a thing to put you in those shoes of like, you're walking down a trail and you're like, oh my god, who's this guy? Oh my god, screw him. oh man. And then he inevitably kills you, because I think every time you see a new enemy, it's gonna kill you because you don't know how to handle it. But then you build up your strength and build up your weapon, and then you eventually come back and beat that enemy that gave you so much trouble, and you think, well, why did that guy give me so much trouble? Like now I'm strong and powerful. I can run through the streets of Yharnam in a minute or two. Now, but
exactly.
But it took me, like I said, like 5 days when I first played it. So and I don't know. Go ahead.
My friend, he actually had me rent it originally as a joke because he thought I would give up on it, and then I like ended up just really liking it a lot. And he's like, "Wow, you really took to that way better than I thought you would." And I was like, "Yeah."
So
I'm like, "Thanks for the recommendation."
Yeah.
He's like, "I was doing it was supposed to be a joke, dude." I'm like, "Well, this is what we do now."
Yeah, I go back and play Bloodborne at least until I get to a certain point. Usually it's when I get to the Shadows of Yharnam where I'm like, all right, that's enough for today, kind of a thing.
Yeah, now,
but I
hate it.
Exactly, pretty much that, or what is it? Vicar Amelia is sometimes like that, or Blood-Starved Beast.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I cheated with Vicar Amelia. I just said like somebody was like, "Oh, you could just with Vicar Amelia, you could just if you get a flamethrower and just do that the whole time, you'll probably be good." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah, and then like all the DLC stuff, and it's just the story and the lore of it is so, like I said, wild and like grotesque and horrible and completely unique and really interesting with stuff like, you know, forbidden knowledge and dreams and other realities and, you know, higher consciousnesses than yours. And it's like, it's that cosmic horror stuff that I really, really resonate with, because it's not something, it's not, you know, elves, gnomes, dwarves, and, you know, I'm on an adventure to kill a dragon, that kind of stuff. It's like, what if this tentacle beast from the moon, you know, wanted to turn you into a slug or whatever? Like, that's what basically what the ending of that game is.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so just off the walls bananas, and that's why I like it. But it's also at the same time very slow and deliberate. Like you have to be in a Soulsborne game, because if you rush in, you're gonna get your block knocked off, you know. So it's sort of anything I need it to be in that moment. It's either calming or it's exciting or whatever. Sometimes it's therapeutic to go and play through, you know, and just totally wreck shop in the streets of Yharnam in my, like, you know, level 90 self or whatever. But sometimes, you know, it's like, I'm going to go and try to, you know, fight Maria or something like that. One of the DLC bosses that's like notoriously
Oh, she's my favorite.
Or Orphan of Kos. Yeah, Maria's awesome.
Probably favorite boss ever. One of them at least.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
good.
It's that cosmic horror, fear of the unknown stuff. It's sort of why I like things like Majora's Mask, right? Like, it's that sort of like weird, unsettling horror vibe, but it's not like jump scares kind of a thing. It's more scary that you think about it.
It's that disturbing factor. The thing I like kind of about Bloodborne at certain points is it gets kind of anime, just like for some bosses. Like Lady Maria, she does that whole thing with she gets all Dead Man. I don't know if you've ever seen Dead Man Wonderland, but they have powers using their blood, and like she does that one attack with her blood, and then in her second phase, and then her third phase she mixes it with fire, and I'm like, this is anime as heck, man. It really is. The fights against like people are probably the more exciting things, because you fight like big, like, you know, like I said, Cthulhu monsters and stuff like that. But some of the most exciting fights in Bloodborne, aside from people invading your game session and trying to kill you that way, but there are roaming hunters in the streets, and sometimes, you know, there's like no music at all, and it's just you just hear like your clothes and the footsteps and the weapons clanging against stuff, and you're just trying to like almost like it's a fighting game. You're playing footsies with this guy, trying to like size him up and figure out where your opportunity for attack is, and you know, especially some of the ones later on that can heal up and stuff too, where, you know, you can't let up or else they'll heal up. It's just so like invigorating and just something that's completely unique. And unlike Dark Souls, you can't use a shield. So and the main mechanic of you're doing if damage is done to you, it doesn't necessarily take all away from your red meter. It leaves a little bit of orange that you can get back by doing damage to the other person or entity or whatever it's going to be. And so it really encourages you to be
a bit more aggressive than usual.
Well, and to go with the theming of the game, more beast-like.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that.
It's so it doesn't really need to tell you a whole lot to convey its themes, and that's what I like most about a game, when it can sort of teach you how to play via you playing it. You know, Shovel Knight is a good example of that. The first level of that, or, you know, everybody talks about, you know, Mario 1-1, how it teaches you to play subtly and stuff like that. So But yeah, that's my favorite game from Japan, and honestly, like I could talk about it for another hour and 54 minutes at this point, but I'll spare you the time and upload size and me the vocal cords, right? But
yeah. We're probably gonna be wrapping up because we're trying to keep it around 2 hours now. We've gone around 3 hours or more before on certain occasions.
Lots of news to go through. Lots of bad news, especially, right?
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that last week we didn't actually have all that much bad news, so like it was kind of refreshing. It's like, oh, there's not that much this week, so that's nice. But and this week it was more like cancellations and stuff that we probably knew was happening anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's gonna. So Nate, where can people follow you?
Find you, follow you, listen to you.
Yeah. I'm on Twitter at two-headed giant, TWO headed giant. And that's where you can see me basically screaming about video games or whatever's going on in the sort of scene at large. I weirdly recently got into Fortnite. That's what I've been playing the most in this time where it's just been sort of like, I need to get that socialization time in. And so, doing guest spots on podcasts like such as this or playing Fortnite has been really sort of healthy in a way for me, so that's been really awesome. So you can catch me screaming about whatever's happening in video games or Fortnite or whatever on there. And like I said, my podcast is called the New Entertainment System Podcast. We're on literally every platform, I believe, other than YouTube, just because I'm not trying to upload videos.
See,
but,
we do YouTube, but we decided to, because Podbean will upload your YouTube version automatically for you. It'll just be an hour later than your scheduled time.
Useful.
So we just started
That's awesome.
to do
that. We go through another service that unfortunately doesn't do that, but otherwise I would. But every Monday, half hour, it's me, my co-host Cam, and somebody from the sort of games fandom at large, talking about fake video games. The one that's coming up this Monday, or close to whenever this episode is going to release. It's his name's Zach Reno. He's from a improvised musical podcast, and we make like a Mario Kart dating game and a Pac-Man open world battle royale. It's super weird and super fun. So and none of the hosts know what's going to happen at the beginning of the show, so it's both nerve-wracking and hilarious to record. But I think we put a lot of effort into the production of it and the editing and stuff. So I think we end up with a pretty cool product, and I think that anybody listening would enjoy it. So go check it out, the New Entertainment System Podcast.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, you probably know where to find us. We never have an outro. We're just kind of like, see you later. We just like wing it.
Yeah, we don't have a planned outro in ours, and our co-host Cam just makes me say a random thing at the end of the episode that I don't even know what it's going to be until I read it. So coming up with sign-offs is real hard, so I don't blame you.
I guess
play video games.
Be nice to each other. Social distance. Hygiene.
Watch out for Cooking Mama.
Yeah.
Watch out for Cooking Mama. She'll get you. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that'll be it, guys. It has been a pleasure. Thank you, Nate, for joining us.
Thank you.
We hope to see you again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Well, Erroll, I think that was it. So, signing off.